left for a Nashville couple to uncover. And in Utah, the detailed restoration of an 1870s house reveals the story of a Wild West judge. These stories and more, if walls could talk. I'm Grant Goodeve. Welcome to If Walls Could Talk. Stephen and Robin Tate have made a habit out of fixing up old houses. So when they saw an abandoned brick house in Middletown, Delaware, they could visualize its potential. But its price remained a mystery until the Tates met with its owner in person. He was developing the surrounding land and wanted to make sure potential buyers would fix the house up the right way. Apparently, the Tates convinced him of their expertise, and now, after a year and a half of full-time work, their vision has become a reality. Their restoration has allowed them to see bits of their home's history by offering small steps into the past.
Renovating houses is something that's kind of, I guess, in both of our bloods. We both just love it.
Stephen and Robin Tate's love for renovation wasn't lost on this 1800s project, even though the condition of this Middletown, Delaware house was heartbreaking.
When we first saw it, we just thought, oh my gosh, this just needs so much work. But it was something that we had been looking for a very long time. We just decided, let's do it.
It was in deplorable condition. The roof leaked. It did have inhabitants, but not humans. There were many birds in the house.
Getting their house into better condition would take a lot of work and a little luck. When the Tates uncovered a board in the basement, it was covered with a charming inscription.
Whoever finds this, I wish them luck. December 20th, 1974, 16 years old, born June 11, 1958.
The Tates were able to track down the now adult well-wisher who once lived in the home with his family.
He thought we were crazy for redoing the house. He thought it was in such poor shape. Who would ever take on such a thing? And I told him that that's because I'm totally insane.
Stephen's insane persistence was rewarded when the Tates learned the oldest part of the house was built in 1820 by Thomas Clayton, one of Delaware's first politicians.
Two people from His King's Majesty were sent over here to ensure that he was going to become a senator.
The house was added onto in 1860 by the senator's son. And in restoration, the Tates have worked hard to preserve its 19th century charm.
It was important to us to try and keep that history. Real important.
Part of keeping that history is keeping pieces of the past that surface around the house. Items dug up in the yard include a tiny doll, ornate spoons, and even a musket ball.
I was really like, wow, this is pretty neat. At first it was covered with dirt. We really didn't know what it was. And then when we cleaned it up, gosh, the weight of this, we realized what we had.
And the yard isn't the only place where pictures of the past were unearthed.
We were removing dirt from the basement floor, and as we were digging, we found this locket.
The locket contained 2 photographs that unfortunately faded once they were taken out of the damp basement. But the subjects of those photos hit close to home.
It was a weird feeling, because it was so ironic that I have 2 daughters and that there were 2 girls' pictures in the locket. I like finding old things in houses, and this fits into that category. This is a neat old thing. To think that someone had this and probably lost it down here many, many years ago.
The Tates' restoration work continued to pay off. An 1853 penny was discovered behind a door jamb, and more artifacts were found jammed in a second-floor ceiling.
I believe these are fairly old Indian beads with catgut string, I believe. A rough idea of the date would have been probably around the turn of the century, maybe a little bit earlier than that. This is a flag that also came down from the same ceiling, and it has John Bell running for president and Edward Everett running for vice president.
Bell and Everett ran as the Constitutional Union Party candidates against Abraham Lincoln in 1860.
When you're tearing down walls after you find something like this, you continue to look. Probably a little bit more than you should.
As the Tates continued to tear into their house, they stumbled upon another surprise. A discovery they could measure by the foot.
As we were tearing off the roof to put a new roof on, as we tore off the cedar shake, we looked down and found an abundance of shoes.
It appears the shoes were stashed under the roof through a tiny crawl space above the attic. The Tates aren't sure why they were placed there, but they can see many of the shoes were made to fit little feet.
Joshua Clayton had 9 children, so I'm sure it probably belonged to some of the children that were here.
Today, there is more work to be done and more past secrets to be found, but Stephen and Robin have reached their goal. After a year and a half of intense restoration, they're finally able to see the fruits of their labor.
It's still difficult when I wake up or when I go to bed or when I'm standing in the house to imagine that we're actually living here.
And as a new development continues to grow around them, the Tates' home remains an historical survivor in a changing world.
It's a great feeling to save this house and save the history. It really is.
When Stephen was repairing the home's roof, he discovered more than the shoes. He was also shocked to see that the house only had 2 layers of roofing, 1 tin and 1 cedar. Those 2 roofs lasted around 180 years, a little longer than most roofs are expected to last today. Coming up next, a Nashville couple finds an old brick path that leads directly to the past of their 1907 home. There's more to hear if walls could talk.
Give your home a facelift
I feel like we have a new house.
with Curb Appeal. Tonight at 9 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
You leaving?
Yeah.
Introducing Wrangler Rubicon, the mightiest Jeep 4x4 ever.
Lowe's presents Specialties of the House with Robin Turner.
Ellen, you and your staff spent months restoring Mr. Vanderbilt's bedroom. Now, is there a simple way I can create a period look in my own home?
Well, actually, Robin, there's so many wonderful draperies and wall coverings available today that it really is simple to create a look like this.
Now, where is a good place to get started?
Well, let's take a look at these draperies first. These are made of a deep red wool felt with gold accents. In your home, you can double or even triple the fullness to create a rich look. You can also add valances for a more formal appearance, or even add shears, as we have, to add depth and texture. Select toile or striped wall coverings for a classic feel. Lowe's design specialists can help, and using damasks, silks, or velvet on your windows creates a traditional look. You can add unusual tiebacks, hardware, or beaded fringe for added texture and interest.
For more information, visit lowes.com/Biltmore.
If Lowe's can help take care of America's largest home, Biltmore Estate, we can help take care of yours. Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Tonight, you should see what's on HGTV. At 8, an all-new episode of Dream House. Then at 8:30, a luxurious bathroom makeover on a new divine design. At 9, add a little curb appeal to your home. At 9:30, Designer's Challenge. At 10, make room for baby on an all-new design on a dime. At 10:30, catch another design on a dime. It's all tonight on HGTV, Home and Garden Television. HGTV takes you along for the anxieties, frustrations, and excitement of locating and buying a home. House Hunters, tonight at 11 on HGTV.
Welcome back to If Walls Could Talk. Peter and Roseanne Ruther were looking for an old house in Nashville, Tennessee, but they weren't quite ready for the 1907 house they found. It was a serious mess on the inside and would require a massive restoration. But surprisingly, the house was rock solid on the outside. Roseanne and Peter would soon find the reason for the solid construction buried in the backyard. And from there, the Ruthers would follow a winding path to the past.
The minute I drove up, the house captured me from the front. It has the sweetest curb appeal that said, "Come get me."
That was before Peter and Roseanne Ruther saw the inside. A previous owner had started to remodel the Nashville house, ripped everything out, and never finished.
We took one look at the house, turned, did an about face, and walked out the door.
Despite their initial shock, the Ruthers could see something in this 1907 house that made them want to return it to its historic roots.
As we fixed our old house, the only lament was, what are we going to do about a mantel for the great room? And all of a sudden the barn began to give up its discoveries.
What we find in here today?
Behind the barn door was that missing mantel. Most of the original woodwork and trim was there too.
That barn was the best thing about this property. There was another piece. There was the newel post. There was the top rail. There's the staircase piece that we needed. It was wonderful because every time we went in here, or our trim carpenter went in here, there was another piece of our house waiting to be discovered.
The pieces of the house began to fall into place, but Peter and Roseanne still felt there was something missing.
The more we came here, the more we almost could feel the presence of the previous owners, the more we wanted to know, what were these people like? Who were they? What was their lifestyle?
Many of their questions were answered when research turned up the home's original deed and the original owners.
I said, we found him! We found him! I just got ecstatic because we found Edward T. Lewis. After all this searching and all this wondering, who was the person? We found him.
Edward and Lila Lewis bought the property in 1905 and built their house in 1907.
She bought this lot for $750 and paid in cash, I might add.
The discovery of the deed helped pave the way to solving something that was puzzling Roseanne and Peter about their property. Brick by brick, the couple uncovered hidden walkways buried in their backyard.
I was amazed at how many paving bricks I found.
Oh, it was just, we were jumping around. It's just like finding buried treasure.
But the old cobblestones created more questions than answers.
I guess there's a mystery to it. You know, you think, I wonder why there's so many wonderful bricks in my house. I wonder why there's so many stone pieces, why this house is built this way.
The path to the past led back to E.T. Lewis. The Ruthers learned that Mr. Lewis was the superintendent of streets, sewers, and sidewalks for the city of Nashville in the early 1900s.
I'm sure he got extra ones he'd bring home. And Mrs. Lewis, they said, had many gardens in the back. And so he built her winding pathways.
But Mr. Lewis didn't just make his mark in the yard. He put a lot of professional pride into the rock-solid construction of the house itself.
We wondered when we first found the house, why is this such a well-built house? And then when we found Mr. Lewis, and we found that he was a brick, sand, and gravel company owner and a building contractor, we said, now we know. He built this house to stay. He built it out of 3 brick-thick walls. He put solid granite porch steps. He put solid limestone columns. He put marble windowsills and limestone windowsills on the side. This house was going to be here for generations, literally, and has been.
The Ruthers kept uncovering items that brought them even closer to the Lewises and their lifestyle. Peter was mowing the yard when he found an old car bumper embedded in a tree. And in the weeds, an antique car crank.
I felt like it was a treasure, part of the house. And I have a feeling E.T. had a Model T Ford while he was living here.
Roseanne made one of her favorite finds off the property while antique shopping. She spotted a reproduction of the 1907 Nashville Housewives Cookbook, featuring recipes from the women of Waverly Place.
And I thought, wow, that's very interesting. That is our neighborhood, and started looking through it. And behold, I found, yes, indeed, some recipes from Mrs. E.T. Lewis. She was our original owner. I have made her jam cake many times, and it is delicious, I might add. It's a miracle, really, to find something like this. The people at the antique mall were just absolutely awestruck when I took it up and I said, look at this, what I have found. This is the lady that lived in my house originally. If this book had cost $300, at that particular moment, I was coming home with this book. If I had to take out a second mortgage on my house, I was going to get this book.
The cookbook leaves the couple hungry for more finds. But even if the discoveries dry up, their appetite for the past has been satisfied because Roseanne and Peter feel they've already made their greatest find.
We just couldn't have found a better house. There's no telling what would be here right now if Pete and I hadn't found it. I'm glad we did. Glad it found us.
One of the first things visitors notice when they approach the Ruther's house is a snake coiled up next to the stone planter on the front porch. Peter and Roseanne say the rubber snake scares the squirrels away, and hopefully not their guests. We're pretty sure the snake is not original to the 1907 house. When we come back, a Utah historian brings back an 1875 judge's house and makes an important ruling on the home's past. Stay with us.
The depot is open and Greg is ready. We're talking about a fully stocked outlet here with tile flooring starting at 99 cents a square foot, carpet starting at 99 cents a square foot, and even name brand multicolor wood laminate. There's also granite and Corian countertops and kitchen bathroom remodeling and design. Everything is professionally installed.
Greg Hess Depot! We're not happy till you're happy.
The Greg Hess Depot, open every day of the week. Call 457-7094 for much more information.
Own a timeshare? Sell it for cash. Own a campground membership? Sell it for cash. Now's the perfect time to buy, sell, or rent your timeshare for cash. Call right now for your free information kit to buy, sell, or rent your timeshare or campground membership for cash. Be one of the next 200 callers for your free information kit, and we'll include 10 secrets to buy or sell your timeshare by vacations only. Buy, sell, or rent your timeshare for cash. Call now. Don't wait to pay another maintenance fee or tax bill. It's a free call, so call now.
Member of Starwood Preferred Guest.
Home loans confused Julie. What are points at escrow, she'd wonder. Then she went to Washington Mutual. They explained the process step by step. Now Julie's never confused.
And the answer is...
basal ganglia.
Basal ganglia.
I'll take it. And I don't need the extended warranty. So when you say it's not you, it's me, you're really saying it's me.
Exactly.
Do you want that snow pea?
Nice work, Julie. Nice work.
DuPont Stainmaster Carpet with Tac-Test fibers is so incredibly soft. You have to feel it to believe it. Visit a Stainmaster retailer today and feel for yourself.
Right, but I might take it.
Honey?
You know, we're gonna have to break it in sooner or later.
Anyone can talk about living a better life.
I really need some help.
But at Fine Living, we say less talk, more action. It's perfect. Fine Living is the only network dedicated to helping you live your life better.
Incredible experience. This is my party. This is where I like to be.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's TV you can use.
It's invigorating.
That was so cool.
To request Fine Living, go to fineliving.com.
Welcome back. I'm Grant Goodeve. Alan Roberts says he's a dyed-in-the-wool historic preservationist. And as an architect, saving structures is an important part of his life. When he's not working on the restoration plan for Utah's state capitol, he's driving 100 miles south to his personal project, an 1875 home in Spring City. There, he's returning the biggest and fanciest house in the tiny town back to its former glory. By restoring the home, he honors his own heritage and the prominent man who built the house.
I just love recapturing the lost value of kind of hidden and underdeveloped history.
For Alan Roberts, preserving history is a passion. But when he had the chance to buy what everyone in the county knew as the old judge's house, this architect didn't really have a plan.
I bought it really on a whim. It's kind of like the field of dreams. You know, you build it, you restore it, hopefully I'll come out okay financially.
And Alan still isn't sure how he'll come out. Since 1997, he's been accurately rebuilding the old home and learning about the historic character who lived there, Judge Jacob Johnson.
I think he was eccentric. He was a wealthy man for a rural town.
Johnson the original owner, was a county attorney and a federal judge in the late 1800s. He later served as a district court administrator and a U.S. representative. But from what Alan has heard, this judge may not have been exactly honorable outside the courtroom.
He had friendships with local characters like Butch Cassidy. I've been told repeatedly about soirees they'd have in the upper back porch.
Alan soon realized that his landmark was as unique as its builder.
I have restored other properties before, but this one's really the most interesting and intriguing, and it's kind of got layers and layers of depth to it.
Uncovering the first layer was like unwrapping a sugar-coated surprise.
When I first purchased the house, the whole house was stuccoed in this sort of light bubblegum pink plaster.
Underneath the crumbling color, the original finish looked like imported stone. But upon further investigation, Alan decided that the judge created a false impression. The granite, with beaded scoring, was only pretty plaster.
He was trying to make his house look fancier and more upstyle than all of the limestone houses around town.
And Alan easily concluded that the 1875 home had a trendy addition.
The old two-story part is a Greek Revival. Then the Victorian part, which has got the three-story tower, it represents the evolution of culture, going from sort of the primitive pioneer vernacular to the more high-style Victorian architecture. The railroad came here about 1890, and it brought a lot of wealth.
Judge Johnson poured his own style and wealth into the home. In the attic, Alan turned up a 500-gallon galvanized water tank, and in the bedrooms, quarter-round marble-top sinks.
It's very rare to find indoor plumbing in a house from the 1890s.
Alan also profiled the judge's personality when custom tiles in a fireplace revealed the man's best friends.
Both tiles have names. One's called Sensation, one's called Black Prince, and those were the judge's dogs.
But probably Alan's greatest surprise was when he drafted a connection to his own profession. After reviewing town records, Alan learned that he bought the first architect-designed home in Spring City. Now, Alan has many questions for his colleague of the past.
I'd like to have an hour with him and then say, what did you have in mind here? What did the judge want? How did you interpret his needs? I'd really like to know, but I don't have that, so I'm having to figure out the hard way, which is try to put myself in his head.
A different discovery allowed Alan to create his own blueprints. When he turned over Johnson family photos still hanging on the wall, he captured the home's original image.
On the backs of each of the photos, which were dated around 1912, were the original negatives. The negatives allowed me to blow them up, so now I have very large photos. So every single detail that appears on the photos will end up in the finished building.
And Alan has even more buildings to finish. He learned that the bungalow behind the house was once the judge's law office. But when Alan walked into the granary, he opened the unofficial records of a farming community.
Spring City was settled mostly by people from Denmark. So these names that end in S-E-N and S-O-N are throughout the town's history, and you can see them all over this door. We've got Larson, Peterson, Monson, Olson. Here we have August 3rd, 1897, Martin Olson, wheat, 5 bushels, 30 pounds, and there's a sum of some figures right here. And so they use this as sort of a notepad to keep track of the products that were brought here and stored.
Alan says you can read a piece of architecture like a history book. So for him, this structural treasure speaks volumes about his own roots.
So my ancestors came to Utah in the 1850s, and I've wanted to find something that represented the pioneer heritage that I have, and something that as a restoration architect I can tackle because it's what I love to do. It's fun.
Along with all the architectural details, Alan says he also wants the furnishings to reflect how the judge lived in the home. So, Alan returned the hog butchering sink that the previous owners had in the kitchen back out to the stone barn. And a 1907 painting he found in the barn will eventually make it back into the house. But for now, Alan's just trying to deliberate over which project to start next. When we come back, we'll revisit the Nashville, Tennessee house we showed you earlier to see one very small room that has closeted away almost a century of history. Stay with us.
On the next Dream House, Brandon's house framing is squared away.
So all the walls are up, huh? It's amazing.
But plumbing problems produce a new clog. Will Brandon's master plan head down the drain? It's an all-new Dream House, tonight at 8 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
This certainly looks like a leak.
HGTV Wednesday. At 8, what else will the house detective find? Will Valerie's dream home become a nightmare? Then at 8:30, the Robinsons need a new kitchen. See what they cook up on New Spaces. That's House Detective at 8 and New Spaces at 8:30. Wednesday, only on HGTV.
New design ideas every day. Top 10 favorites all the time. Plus custom calculators to make designing a breeze. Visit HGTV.com.
This year, Lowe's can save you up to 20% on your heating bill. In fact, the United States government has designated Lowe's as the Energy Star Retail Partner of the Year. To celebrate, if you buy $200 of Owens Corning or Johns Manville fiberglass insulation, Lowe's will give you a $50 gift card absolutely free. And Lowe's has low prices every day, guaranteed. That's our promise. Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Be a miracle if he makes it to 10. Be a miracle if he makes it to 15. Oh. Be a miracle if he makes it to 21. That's a miracle.
Be a miracle if she makes it to 10.
What is propane? A certain warmth. A feeling of ease. A comfort in knowing that in your corner of the world, things are right. Propane. Clean, efficient, exceptional energy. See what propane can do for you with the energy savings calculator at usepropane.com.
We knew our Bissell Pro heat was gifted. But out cleaning every other deep cleaner in his class?
We're extremely proud. That built-in heater of his, just precious.
In fact, he's the only upright deep cleaner in the neighborhood who has one. And 6 rows of bristles.
Our other kids don't even have bristles. Bissell, we mean clean.
We try not to play favorite.
But I mean,
Welcome back to If Walls Could Talk. Earlier in the program, we met Roseanne and Peter Ruther, who found many clues to the history of their house in the backyard and the barn. Although the Ruthers have redone their entire Nashville, Tennessee house, there is one area they have not touched, and they plan to leave it that way.
Oh, this closet holds many of our most famous treasures. We have not done anything in here because this wall has layers of wallpaper. It's almost like carbon dating to see the different layers that represent different eras of the house. I've wanted to take and have some of these patterns dated because I'm sure they will indicate when they were put up.
When Peter and Roseanne want to remind themselves of the many lives their house has lived, they just open the closet and travel back in time. They say their door to the past is one of their most precious treasures. Thanks for watching. Remember, every house has a history, so keep looking for clues to the past in your home. I'm Grant Goody.
Each time I come down, 2 things. I find new things, and I learn how much more work there is to do than I imagined. It was in very, very bad condition, but I saw enough that it's workable so that it could be transformed back into close to its original glory.
We tell people all the time, if you start with nothing, you can do anything. Once you get going, you can't stop. You get a hold of something and you find out who bought it from the people who bought it from you, and you just can't stop.
Visit America's favorite home and garden website at HGTV.com.
Frightful and delightful.
Discoveries behind a mantel are a special present in a Virginia house. And in Arkansas, a 1920s lakeside bungalow provides an historic getaway for the woman bringing it back. These stories and more, if walls could talk. Grant Goodeve. Welcome to If Walls Could Talk. In 1990, Glenn and Shelley Donahoe of St. Louis, Missouri decided to take a leap of faith. When an historic home went on the market in their Compton Heights neighborhood, they believed they could save the rundown structure. It turns out their idea wasn't so half-baked. By restoring the 1908 French Renaissance Revival home, they not only discovered its past, but they allowed the city to once again experience the magic of a local landmark.
When you think about this, the basic gas stove built this house. It's pretty amazing.
Everything about this stately home is amazing. When Glenn and Shelley Donahoe lived 1 block away, they recognized the mansion's magical touches.
It was an awesome house. The house has so many neat features in it, and the history of it with the original family having been here all these years, it just totally intrigued me.
As neighbors, the Donahoes knew that the opulent house once belonged to the Stockstrom family. The builder, Charles Stockstrom, was the inventor of the gas stove regulator. He owned a series of stove companies and the Magic Chef brand. When the Donahoes realized the 1908 mansion was for sale, a fire was ignited.
I think Shelley had a passion for this house. We also had a significant concern that the house wasn't going to get restored. And so we thought, you know, it would be a good thing to save this house. It was overwhelming because it was so big. And you thought, well, I know I can do 1 room, but can I do the whole house?
It turns out, Glenn and Shelley would soon find the recipe for its restoration.
We were cleaning the house out. It was a bottom drawer in what's today my closet upstairs. So I opened it up, and lo and behold, it was the blueprints. I nearly died.
Opening the drawers also revealed the architect's building specifications. But when the family looked further for hidden treasures, the plans were missing an ingredient.
When we bought the house, we knew there were safes in it, but what we found out was that the safes hadn't been open in years and years. Our first discovery was that we found the combination of the master bedroom safe. We found that combination written on the wall in the closet of the master bedroom.
The Donahoes opened the safe and came up empty. But after drilling the 2 remaining safes, their investment in time turned up banking items from the Stockstrom's daughter.
The first entry is April 15th, 1936.
While Glenn and Shelley found only memories of money, they soon discovered a Stockstrom jewel under the safe.
You could see one little indention in the dust. It was like a crater in the dust. And we thought, well, what is that? And I reached out and grabbed it, and it was a little diamond ring.
Inscribed on the band was the name C.A. Stockstrom. And once the couple realized its sentimental value, they found Mimi, the Stockstrom's great-granddaughter, and returned the small jewel.
The ring needed to go back to the family. That's what we thought.
In return, Mimi gave the Donahoes a few historic gems. They received 1910 photos of several rooms and snapshots of the Stockstrom family. Other tiny treasures included a bucket of tarnished tacks, which turned up in the basement. The Donahoes suspected they had just solved a miniature mystery.
Well, when we first bought the house, we saw all these little holes all around the perimeter of each wall in this library. I think we'd been here about 3 years, and we took one of the tacks and slipped it in a hole and it went right in. We thought, those tacks went on the walls.
The Donahoes polished and returned just under 3,000 tacks to the library walls. They also uncovered the room's original stenciling. But their biggest painted puzzle was in the parlor.
There was a bathroom above there that had leaked the plumbing for so long that it started leaking through that oval, and I could see a little bit of color bleeding through.
To the couple's surprise, they discovered hidden pictures in 4 of the 5 ovals on the wall.
It looked like some guy up in a tree and his bare rear end showing. I thought, oh, this can't be. They wouldn't have that in a formal parlor.
Glenn and Shelley carefully picked the paint off the canvases, but they couldn't be saved. Inspired to find similar art, the couple found a decorating magazine from 1885. Turning over the pages, they had the sense they had discovered the same enchanting images.
Then when we stripped the canvases, they all match up to what's out of the old magazine, which was just pure luck. They're of the 5 senses, and this one is the sense of smell, the sense of feeling, the sense of taste, and this is the sense of hearing and seeing.
The Donahos learned that the artist's last name was Von Stuck, and knowing his paintings were of the 5 senses, the couple realized they had only found 4 of the 5 canvases. But the last piece of the picture puzzle was finally fitting together.
The canvas to this circular painting was gone, and there was a round mirror hanging there, but when we got the old photograph to this room, it did show what was there. Once we knew what was in here, we thought, oh, you know, it's going back original. There's just no other way to do it.
Glenn and Shelley have loved restoring the magic back into the Stockstrom house. And by saving its past, they've also returned an historical landmark back to the city.
It's a St. Louis treasure. It's not just our treasure.
While the mansion cooks up an elegant charm that others appreciate, for the Donahos, it will always be home.
But every time we go someplace else, it is great to be back home. We just love the house. And it's a fun place to be. It's our castle and our home.
Glenn and Shelley say they feel fortunate to have uncovered so many of the home's original features. But one special touch in the home took 10 years to put together. When the couple first moved in, they found fabric in a cedar chest on the 3rd floor. They later realized that the folded fabric was in fact the home's original portieres, or doorway drapes. And after all of these years, there were exactly the same number of drapes as there were rods to hold them, still hanging above the doors. Coming up next, a Virginia family is excited when the history of their 1912 house is surprisingly dismantled. There's more to hear if walls could talk.
Brought to you by Geldwin Windows and Doors. Reliability for real life.
We're Geldwin, and for more than 40 years, we've been making reliable windows and doors. Minus 20 outside, catching 20 inside. It's good and quiet. April showers, May flowers. Comfort, security, dependability. Geldwin Windows and Doors. Reliability for real life.
Monthly bills starting to bury you? Would $30,000 in fast cash help?
Fast cash from Greenlight.
Homeowners get $30,000 or more for whatever you need.
Fast cash.
Call 866-66-FASTER for fast approval on a fast cash second mortgage. Good credit or not, get your fast cash now. Just call
866-66-FASTER. Fast cash from Greenlight.
Merry Christmas.
The holiday season. It's the perfect time of year to find the one you love.
Christmas is time to do something about it.
Like what?
And tell them exactly how you feel.
You've got nothing to lose, and you'll always regret it if you don't.
Don't let the holidays go by without love, actually.
Hello.
Rated R. In theaters Friday.
Tonight, you should see what's on HGTV. At 8, will Demi's dream home become a nightmare? Ask the house detective. Then at 8:30 on New Spaces, Bob and Gary need a new bathroom now. At 9, our weekend warriors tackle another tough project. Then at 9:30, mission organization. At 10, try a little curb appeal. Then at 10:30, try a little more curb appeal. That's all tonight, only on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
New design ideas every day. Top 10 favorites all the time. Plus custom calculators to make designing a breeze. Visit HGTV.com.
Welcome back to If Walls Could Talk. Bruce and Carol Evans take turns planning their anniversary weekends. And in 1991, it was Bruce's turn. He saw an ad about Cape Charles, Virginia, and booked a getaway. The Evans arrived on Saturday morning, fell in love with the town, and started looking for real estate on Sunday. 2 years later, they bought a 1912 Colonial Revival that needed some attention. Over the years, they have babied the old home, restoring some of its decades-old luster, and discovering many wonderful connections to the Virginia family who first called this house their home. The world seems to glow when the sun sets on Virginia's eastern shore. And as if inspired by this natural beauty, there is also a warmth about the colorful community of Cape Charles, Virginia. It is here that Bruce and Carol Evans sought a long-term getaway from the big city when they purchased a Colonial Revival in 1993. But at that time, the reviews for the house were anything but warm or glowing.
Many of our friends call us the patron saints of old things, including houses. And well, just this house aesthetically looked very tired and worn. To restore and get down to one coat of paint rather than 50, and to scrape all of the old grime, you can almost feel the house stand a little taller as you begin to do those things to it.
Bruce and Carol did most of the restoration work over a 10-month period, often letting the house serve as their guide. Beadboard, found behind old cabinets, was reincorporated into their modern kitchen. Just outside, 29 pillars needed Bruce's assistance.
I'm not a contractor, and so I didn't have any knowledge of this until we began to pull the porch apart piece at a time. And it's like a puzzle. It came apart and went back together relatively easy.
Bruce taught himself how to restore the columns and helped return the grandeur to the old home.
It was a real labor of love to me. This is one of the things that just set the house off, the fact that it's got this 100-foot wraparound porch, and that was very important to us, so we wanted it to look like it did originally.
Originally, when it was the home of the Wilkins family. Tucker and Julia Wilkins raised their children Tucker Jr., little Julia, Billy, and Paige here. And as the Evans restored the 1912 home, the Wilkins family history was surprisingly dismantled.
This mantle was hanging off the wall somewhat, and Bruce, with his handy hands, would screw it back on, and then the next morning we find that it had eked its way out again. And we did this a couple nights and then found out that there really was a reason, and that is, this was like a time capsule.
A lifetime of Wilkins memorabilia had fallen behind the mantle, like an unopened envelope containing a check for $25.
We think back of what it would be like for somebody to say, well, I know I put that right up there, and where did it go?
There were so many items behind the old mantle, it's a wonder it was ever against the wall at all. The Evans have dedicated a display table to their finds. A 1919 calendar, Tucker Jr.'s savings book, and embroidery scissors are gifts from the past. But a letter from the little girl of the house was perhaps the biggest present of all.
Little Julia had written a letter to Santa Claus, and that some way found its way behind the mantle as well. And it was addressed to Santa Claus, C-L-A-U-S-E. She says, "Dear Santa, please bring me a bicycle and a doll and some clothes for the doll. Love, Julia Wilkins." And we date this probably around 1913, and the house is dated 1912.
When little Julia's family saw the work being done on their former home, they began showing up at the door to share memories of the house.
The Wilkins family are delighted to see the activity in the house again, and the vitality and such. It pleases them genuinely.
The families have grown so close that little Tucker was invited to have his 90th birthday party in his childhood house. It turned out to be a celebration where the Evans would receive a special gift.
The family was just so touched. They gave us, at that time, the photographs of the family.
And another heirloom. The family also returned little Julia's linens to the home. These items decorate a bright blue room with a surprising story. The Evans had randomly nicknamed this largest bedroom Julia's room.
Lo and behold, we found out from the family later on that this actually was little Julia's room. So it was very, very momentous that put those two together.
Putting together the history of the Wilkins family has been a gift for Bruce and Carol, a present of the past. While this house started as something of a getaway for the Evans, it has become a chance to come home to history.
Well, I think when you own a house of this size, and one that has the history that this house seems to have, we kind of feel a responsibility to perpetuate the standard, to try to keep the house to what we brought it to, because we feel it was probably even grander than this initially. And so I think we continually strive to, I guess, for perfection in that degree.
Because it is a magical place. It really is.
The Evans painstakingly restored their wooden floors by hand, often having to remove many layers of linoleum, adhesive, and varnish. In one room, they were stumped by a glue that just wouldn't come up. They tried every solvent they could find, and rubbing with sandpaper didn't work. Finally, an old-timer at the lumber yard told Bruce that with some of those old glues, all you needed was boiling water and terry cloth towels. Sure enough, when they dumped hot water on the floors, they were able to just wipe up the old glue. When we come back, a 1920s Arkansas bungalow provides a restoration getaway for the woman bringing it back. Stay with us.
This court hereby orders you to undergo anger management therapy.
Anger management?
Temper's the one thing you can't get rid of by losing it.
Premiering October 31st. Order Anger Management on in-demand pay-per-view. The madness begins this Halloween on Cox Digital Cable.
When we say we've tripled in size, we really mean it. We're 10 acres big, with more cars to choose from than ever before. Plus, at Courtesy and Henderson, you'll always get a better deal. With more new cars and sport utility vehicles priced less than the competition. Over 500 quality used vehicles to choose from, too. And at Courtesy and Henderson, you'll always be treated right. Come in and get a little help from your friends at Courtesy and Henderson. Now, bigger and better than ever. At US 95 in Sunset or 215 at Gibson at the Valley Auto Mall.
Line or call now.
Well, mama, don't you make me another meatloaf. Forget the mac and cheese. I want some fun piled on a bun. I want a manwich, please. Make tonight a manwich night. I want a manwich, please.
It can happen anytime. The food impulse. And try as you may, it's tough not to give into it. But if you've got healthy, balanced nutrition, you can resist cravings and manage impulses better. Introducing new Shape Up Weight Management bars, shakes, and supplements. Shape Up, this time is different.
I've never been anywhere like Steinmart at all.
Steinmart customers love to share.
I have a routine. I start off in the housewares, and then I move back to the lamps and the photos. And then I'll probably go to the bedding. Then I'll do the placemat, then I'll swing over to lingerie. And then I go to shoes, and then I go to the boutique, and then I go to purses, belts, and jewelry counter.
Steinmart. Once you go, you get it.
You can put it with black pants, or you can put it with jeans. I mean, you can wear it with anything. I love it.
42,000 dentists think enough of Crest White Strips to sell them in their offices. 15 million people have already tried them. 4 out of 5 would recommend them. Crest White Strips. The secret to a whiter smile is in the strip. Guaranteed.
In cities and towns across America,
people from all communities are coming together to save the places of our past.
To support their efforts, Home and Garden Television
is joining with the National Trust for Historic Preservation
on a nationwide project called Restore America, a salute to preservation. For more information,
visit hgtv.com/restoreamerica or nationaltrust.org.
Restore America is proudly supported by American Express.
Welcome back. I'm Grant Goodeve. Carol Schultz didn't need another home, but her family and friends couldn't resist showing her a great property on Lake Hamilton in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Carol's first problem with the idea was that she already had a home 400 miles away. But after seeing the property, she couldn't get the lakeside house out of her head. In 1993, Carol finally gave in to her thoughts and bought the 1920s Craftsman bungalow. In the end, her decision would save the structure, give her a getaway, and expose the home's history for everyone to see. At first, when Carol Schultz bought her home on impulse, she questioned her decision. But then, as fate would have it, she realized the reasons behind purchasing the cozy retreat.
I had a very high-pressure job for a large oil company, and when I went off on stress disability, this was my saving grace.
The old home turned out to be an anchor for Carol, a place where she could go to pour herself into its repair.
This brought me back to center and allowed me to experience my own personal creativity.
And creativity is exactly what Carol needed to turn a questionable decision into a restored home.
I feel I had a great deal of vision, because otherwise you would have bulldozed the house if you didn't see the potential in it.
Carol actually saw more than its potential. What others left behind became her treasure.
Each thing, if you saw it with a different eye, with a non-jaundiced eye, you could find that it was a treasure and not something that needed to be tossed out, but something that needed to be utilized.
One sparkling gem that Carol kept was a special feature in a very strange location.
And I thought how odd that somebody would put a frosted window in their dining room.
The mystery remained unclear until Carol removed several walls and floors. She then discovered the answer was underfoot.
We found that there was linoleum on the floor here, and once we saw that, we realized that the reason we have a frosted window in here is because in one version of its life, this had to have been a bathroom, and decided for the unique aspect of it to leave the frosted window.
For Carol, leaving the window was her way of preserving her home's history. She has found many ways to return the old bungalow's hidden surprises back into the home. When she first moved in, Carol discovered one mystery that wasn't a total wash.
Oh, there was a cabinet in the basement that's a wonderful solid mahogany cabinet. I had no idea what it was because it had so many coats of paint on it. Once we stripped it down, we knew we had a treasure.
More hidden treasures found in the basement helped Carol cook up another shelving solution.
I remembered I had these cabinets, opened them up and said, wait a minute, these don't need to be down here storing paint.
It turns out the cabinets were pine and birch and made a perfect pantry. They are even colored with the history of the previous owners.
You can literally see all of the paint along the outside here and on these shelves here.
Another room offered Carol more space-saving surprises. During a bedroom renovation, she discovered that what she removed was gained back in other ways.
As a result of peeling away all the layers of paneling that they had put on here historically, we actually gained 6 inches in this room.
And it turns out other surprises were stirring in the bedroom. When Carol bought the home, she was puzzled by the room's 2 doors and what looked like a unit number on its exterior.
I found it very interesting because why would you have a number 2 on your house?
The mystery rested until a granddaughter of the original owner stopped by and explained the home used to be a lakeside resort.
She told me some of the history, and then I did some research and also found out that there were cabins down below that had been removed, so it makes a lot more sense.
Carol learned that Edwin Stearns and his family owned the home and used cabin number 2 as their servants' quarters. Carol also realized that the old wood that she had found earlier near the house came from the cabins. And with her creative vision, Carol salvaged this history by paneling rooms with the logs from the past.
It was well worth working with the materials that were here and just kind of recycling things and making it more interesting and keeping the character.
The granddaughter also revealed that Carol's guest bed had been parking in Stearns' spot for years.
We realized it had been a garage. It's graduated up and you can just see it looks just like a driveway path.
Carol is proud that she became her own architect for this historic home. She's uncovered many layers and put back even more. In the process, she's been able to connect to her property's past. The home has also given her something in return.
When people come in and they stay and they feel very welcome and very at home and they experience this peace and serenity that I do, then I know it's successful.
Carol is grateful for all her treasures from the past. She was also excited to finally learn about the original family and the resort. She feels that if all the cabins were still on her property, they'd now be underwater. In the 1950s, Hot Springs dammed a river to make Lake Hamilton, and Carol believes that's when the resort went under. When we come back, we'll revisit the 1908 St. Louis house we showed you earlier for a basement discovery that really bowled over the home's current owners. Stay with us.
On the next Weekend Warriors, their guest house is getting a playful makeover.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Despite some setbacks.
I didn't think it could get worse.
Tile is not your friend.
Wait till you see the transformation.
It looks
so amazing. Weekend Warriors, tonight at 9 on HGTV.
Our market share, and I need to know what
I installed French doors this weekend. C'est très bon.
Oui? Want a weekend project you can brag about? Watch HGTV's Weekend Work Zone. 5 hours of great shows, packed with ideas and advice you can really use. Weekend mornings beginning at 8, only on HGTV. Brought to you by Lowe's, improving home improvement.
I've been racing vacuums underground for about a year now. I run a bagless, Abyssal Clean View. She's got tons of power. Maneuvers like a dream. Of course, eventually, you gotta empty them. That's where races are won and lost, in the pits.
Break away from bags for under 150 bucks. Now with a HEPA media filter. Bissell. We mean clean.
Designed to resist water, dust, snow, imitation. There's no other digital camera like it. Stylus Digital from Olympus. Designed to do more.
Wow, puppy! I don't know. Which one would you pick?
I'd go with the frisky one, but look at that nose.
They're both so cute. I've got an idea.
People who love pets this much grow up to work at Petco, where animals always come first. Our Petco Foundation supports over 1,500 local animal groups across the country, raising millions to give animals a better life. Petco, where the pets go.
They're both so cute.
I've got an idea.
How's a week-long winter vacation sound? Throw in a private mountain retreat, lift tickets for 4 and a luxury car rental, and you've got the Fine Living Winter Wonderland Sweepstakes. Enter now and next year.
You could be right here in Sun Valley, Idaho.
Be pampered with a massage, a night out, and a night in with your own gourmet chef, plus a playground of outdoor activities. Let Fine Living turn winter into your wonderland.
Enter now at fineliving.com.
Brought to you by Land Rover and Sony.
Welcome back to If Walls Could Talk. Earlier in the program, we visited St. Louis, Missouri, where Glenn and Shelley Donahoe returned the splendor to one of the city's historic mansions. One amazing feature in the home is an actual bowling alley in the basement. While the couple knew about it when they moved in, to their surprise, they were able to pin down the playing pieces from the past.
Just the thought of having a bowling alley in your house is just fun. And the pins were left in water, and there was a bunch of balls.
After finding the home's original blueprints, the couple also learned that the bowling alley was apparently an afterthought.
The plans did not show the bowling alley, so sometime between the start of construction or the drawing of the plans, they decided to put in that bowling alley.
Fixing up the basement is now on the Donahoe's long to-do list. Thanks for watching. Remember, every house has a history, so keep looking for clues to the past in your home. I'm Grant Goodeve.
It's hard to beat the original look, in my opinion. I love the authentic look of an old house.
I found, when we were renovating, 8 airplane seats. If I ever have a chance to build a media room, I'll use these in the theater.
And our children were very supportive of this decision. It was really funny because we said that this was something we wanted to do, and they said, you go for it, rather than you're going to do what?
Visit America's favorite home